Welcome to Game. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode, a long overdue episode, in fact, of T-Series.
Welcome to GTeaLive.
Who are you?
You may remember me. I used to be a regular cast member on this show, and then I got canceled. But now I'm uncanceled and I'm back. No, actually, I was out of town last week. I had a trip to take for business. Some of you guys know we do consulting, and so I was away doing consulting-y things in Finland last week. And I was not able to join the streams, but Matthew was able to carve off that time and do FNAF VR, which is actually a really good thing to do with only one person on the streams, because when you're in a VR headset, you can't see or hear the other person, so it's hard to keep up the fun, witty banter that we usually go for.
Yeah, I was going to say, you missed all the enjoyment of FNAF. It's almost like you were out of town in Finland on purpose.
You'll never be able to prove that.
It would actually be impossible for you to do that because Scott Cawthon's release dates are fluctuating constantly, so there would be no chance of you actually lining up a flight to coincide with the release of a new FNAF game.
That would be pretty amazing. And actually, it worked out really well. Shout out to Finland, by the way. I did not have any specific
What's up, Finland?
Hey, Finland. I didn't have like particular expectations. I was like, it's very far north up there. I'm not sure what they do that far north, but actually it was lovely. Everyone was really nice. I super enjoyed myself, and it was bizarre when the sun came up at 3:30 and went down at 11:30, like came up at 3:30 a.m. and then went down at 11:30 p.m. and you're like, what is going on? It was wild. Oh yeah, well, shout out to FNAF VR, which was also surprising and fun. Oh, good.
So while you were in a surprising and fun country, I was in a surprising and fun virtual experience with everyone watching the live stream. So there. Plus, the unfortunate truth is, when Stephanie got home, I immediately filled her in on everything that she missed in Five Nights at Freddy's.
We wrote the script this weekend.
So I could bounce ideas off of her and be like, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Does this make sense?
I know the contents of every tape.
You do. Every tape. Every ending.
Oh, yeah. We got really into it this weekend, so don't worry. I'm well caught up on my FNAF lore, and shout out to Sarah Nunnally. Hey, Steph, we missed you so much. Clap and a half for you. Thank you so much. Missed all of you guys a whole lot, and I'm excited to be back for GTeaLive.
The fun fact that I learned from Stephanie from her time in Finland, outside of they eat bear and that bear isn't super tasty, is the fact that apparently Helsinki is the northernmost capital in the world.
It's farther north than like Reykjavik, Iceland, and farther north than St. Petersburg. It's crazy. It's so far up there. Like you like wander off too far out of Helsinki and you're like, whoa, hey Santa. It's like that far north.
Yeah, did you run into Santa?
Almost.
Okay. Because I didn't prepare my list, so I wasn't ready for that, unfortunately.
I know, right? That would have been tragic.
That would have been such a shame.
But no, we're back, and I think we should hop into it because we've got, as usual, fun and juicy or like tea-filled stories.
We can't do that, Steph.
Because we don't know what we're drinking.
We don't know what we're drinking today. I mean, I bet you know what I'm drinking today.
Is it unbranded Diet Cola X?
It is unbranded Diet Cola X. In my nifty
snifter. Your nifter snifter.
It's my blue mug.
Yep, it's the same mug that he drinks out of all the time. And I've got my Wonder Woman mug today. And I've got my Wonder And I'm drinking a milk chai, which is one of my favorites, actually. I got really into drinking chai, which you don't say chai tea because they're the same word. So I got the reminder. We visited India last 2 years ago, and they're very into chai, but don't call it chai tea because that's like saying tea. That's what I'm drinking today.
Fun fact.
Chai.
Did you know that, Chris? Chris has no response.
I did not.
He is so dumbfounded by the revelation.
Chris
he had nothing to say.
Chris is taking a nap.
Apparently, that's fine. Hey, you can engage in today's little live stream of the podcast via the chat, which is to the right, or on
the
hashtag
chat
GT.
is going strong. Yep, hashtag GTLive is over on Twitter. We are holding it up right now, but if you are listening to this as a podcast, you're not going to see it. You're just going to hear it, and you can head over there, and you can catch up on what happened.
Did you write cola on our little GTeaLive board, Chris?
Well, if you notice, that is a blue cup, and it is filled with an unbranded Cola X, one might say.
I know, but this is fully sugared cola, not diet cola.
I mean, how are we to know?
It's
without the
it's
branding.
branded as regular cola.
It doesn't look particularly caloric in there. If you look at those bubbles, they look very light.
There you go. So Chris and Stephanie are on the computer and in the chat looking for you to engage today. So like Stephanie said, she wanted us to hop in because now that she's back in town, now
We
that
have stories to catch
yeah,
up
now I can't be spending 4+ hours playing Five Nights at Freddy's alone anymore. It's time to hop back into this. We got tight time frames. There's a bab that I need to take care of at a certain point tonight. So no more playing VR games with me for hours on end. All right. So first story, it's not even a story. It is a congratulations, Steph. It is a congratulations to all of us here on T-Series for becoming the first ever YouTube channel to cross 100 million subscribers. Wow, it seems like only yesterday that we just crossed 2 million subscribers
I know.
on this
just
channel.
so
Literally,
popular.
it was yesterday. Or actually, it was last week sometime.
What was that, Chris?
We are just so popular.
Right?
No, we've really skyrocketed.
I mean, I guess the FNAF streams really took off, my friends. Like, went from here to here. No, so our pun of a name is inspired by obviously the Indian channel T-Series, which
is the largest. Wait, are they still going back and forth at all?
No, it is done.
It's done.
It is
right?
solidified. T-Series is the clear winner for YouTube domination. They are officially, far and away at this point, the largest channel that is not YouTube branded on the platform. Obviously, PewDiePie and T-Series were going back and forth there for a while. At this point, the battle is over. And T-Series has won.
And T-Series has hit 100 million subscribers.
And Pewds is at 96.
Yeah, which, I mean, he will get there.
Not shabby.
And I am curious to see, because there was like a series of tweets where YouTube was like, hey, look out, we're going to be sending you something tremendous or whatever. So I am curious to see what the 100 million subscriber prize is.
So we, earlier this year, we were at the Creator Summit, right? Which is where they bring a bunch of creators together to talk about upcoming like YouTube policies and trends and this and that. And we actually talked to the person at YouTube who is responsible for those subscriber incentives, right? The things that they send out to channels when they cross certain thresholds. And I asked him, because I've been skeptical about this for a long time. Recall back 3 years ago or something like that, when PewDiePie first crossed 50 million subscribers, and YouTube sent him the Ruby play button. At least that's what it was branded as in his video. That's what it's kind of referred to as. But it was basically this like large red polyurethane like plastic thing that was like a 3D replica of his logo. It came in a giant like cherry box or whatever. Yeah. And I asked him, I'm like, was that real? Because the thing is, like, it's kind of wacky looking. It's kind
of weird looking.
It's a very unusual, like, you know, you have the diamond play button, which looks pretty nice, but this thing is just like large and awkward and very clearly like this like fake plastic, even though they're calling it like this the Ruby play button. And I asked him, was that a real thing, or was that something that PewDiePie just created? You know, that he bought.
He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would do that, though.
I mean, no, but
he's not particularly prize driven or trophy oriented.
Well, but for content, right? And I think this is the thing.
For the views.
Not even for the views, creators all the time will do wacky stuff for content, right? Like, filled my tub with Orbeez. Are they looking to do that for themselves? No, they're looking to do it for the views. You know, I created this new YouTube play button for this big milestone. I totally see that, you know.
So what did he say?
So he said it is actually true that the 50 million subscriber thing that they sent PewDiePie at least was this like large plastic ruby play button.
I'm assuming they send other channels, because there have been several channels at this point who have crossed 50 million. And I'm assuming that they've also sent them stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they do. It's just one of those things that I don't know if that's standard practice at this point, and that's just kind of what it is, or if it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. But he did, for years I've suspected that this was just something that was made up by PewDiePie for the lols or for the content, or like, just for fun. But no, 100% legit. That is a real thing. So what does a channel get for crossing 100 million subscribers? The platinum play button. I mean, it should be something like platinum
Stock
play button,
ownership of YouTube.
they can't afford that.
No.
Come on, what are you talking about? So that's a fun little short story here to start us off today.
Yep.
There you go. Congratulations, friends.
Woo!
Looks like we did it. 100 million subscriber club. Well done, team.
It's so unbelievable that I can't even seem to wrap my head around it.
100 million?
Yeah, that's such a massive number.
It'd be cool if they aggregated your subscribers across all your channels, and you just like have one subscriber across 10 million channels, and it's like, or 100 million channels. Then
No, that's okay.
aggregate it.
Nah.
No?
No.
All right, fine.
All right, next.
That's a tough, especially in this day and age where subscribership is actually like a much more meaningless metric. That's the other thing that's worth calling out here, though, is subscribership actually doesn't matter nearly as much as it used to on the platform.
We talk about this in consulting now, actually, where like YouTube will serve your videos to people if they're interested in them, not whether or not they're subscribed to you. So yeah, it's weird because YouTube keeps giving out these awards and stuff for subscriber milestones, but at the same time, they don't really recommend videos based on subscribership anymore, or that's one of like so many different factors at this point that it really doesn't have like the meaning that it used to have.
Yeah.
So it's weird that YouTube keeps rewarding people based on it, and so it keeps people focused on subscribership when that's actually not what they should care about.
Yeah, it's a
weird.
really
It's
odd
weird.
system, yeah, where YouTube just recognizes whether or not you have subscribership like behavior to a specific channel. So you're kind of like an implied subscriber, doesn't add to your total, doesn't mean anything, but it just it means that you're more likely to see that channel's videos. So if you've clicked on every one of their videos, they're like, oh, this person's practically a subscriber, we should show it to them in a pretty highly prized position. So it is a bit odd that YouTube has this weird kind of friction in the way that it rewards people and in kind of this metric that everyone still focuses on, when YouTube in 2019 subscribership is actually much less meaningful than it ever has been.
Yeah.
So,
all right, next.
Speaking of, this kind of brings us to one of the big topics of the day, which is this idea of influence. Right, and this is kind of our thumbnail topic, or at least the title topic of the day, right? This idea of the influencer bubble, right? So in the rise of social media over the last 10 years, in the rise of people gaining millions upon millions of followers, PewDiePie hundreds of millions of followers across all their different social platforms, what have you, you've seen this huge surge in the idea of online influencers, right? People who...
I've never heard of that. This is a crazy concept. You're explaining something that no one has ever heard of.
There are people that we consult who have never heard of this stuff before, so as much as that's a joke, it's not. But it is. It's one of those things where, in this day and age, it's like, wow, this nobody person who grew up in Medina, Ohio, but has... 10 million people who follow his theories online. Maybe he's worth talking to. Maybe
that
he has
seems
some
like
level.
an oddly specific example there.
Go figure. It's just one that popped in my head randomly. But hey, maybe this person actually has some level of influence over the people who watch him. Unlike, similar to that of traditional celebrities or whatever, right? And so for the last 10 years or so, this idea of influencer or influencer marketing has been a big thing.
Yeah.
Where it used to be just celebrities, just the Kim Kardashians and actors of the world promoting products. But now it's like, hey, what about, the popular people online or people like you, even down to the level of micro influencers, where it's like, hey, you have a couple thousand, 10,000 people who follow your channel or follow you on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Like, you're not in the multi-millions, but you have a couple thousand. Great. We'll integrate our product with you, and you'll, help to promote it to this smaller bubble of people.
It's also one of those things that people really want to do. Like there's been this whole huge, like, kind of gross surge on Instagram, especially of people wanting to be influencers, which I just like, the more that term gets used, the more I hate it. But it's one of those things where people have actually like gone on Instagram, held up like a bottle of shampoo or whatever, like L'Oreal, and then in their captions at the bottom, they've done like hashtag ad or like hashtag L'Oreal sponsor or whatever. And L'Oreal actually hasn't sponsored that post. There have actually been people who like fake it because they want to seem like they have all these like partnerships and sponsors and like they're an influencer that's being hired by all these brands, but actually they're not. And so some of them will just make it up.
Yeah, it creates this aura of success. But the reason why it's one of our top topics of the day is because it's really surged into the news over the last week, where there was here we go. There was an Instagram star. Speaking of Instagram influencers, right?
Instagram's worst.
Wow.
I actually really like Instagram as a platform, but when it comes to like
Shade.
the Instagram like marketer like sponsored phenomenon, it gets kind of weird. I don't know.
So this Instagram star named Ari, Arii, went onto her Instagram. She was going on and she's like promoting her product. And then she went on and followed up a couple days later being like, hey, I couldn't sell 36 t-shirts despite my over 2 million followers here on Instagram. She as part of her Instagram post, she's like, man, no one supported me. I thought that you guys were here for me and you weren't. I couldn't even sell 36 shirts. And so obviously the news media and just... Of course, because this is the important stuff that we need to cover in, our daily news.
There's nothing else
lives.
going wrong in the world. We definitely need to be talking about this on national news.
Everyone's like, wow, this girl who has 2 million followers on Instagram couldn't sell 36 t-shirts. The influencer bubble has burst.
Yeah, so it was basically like one person can't sell some t-shirts, and so therefore everyone on the internet who's getting all these sponsored deals, like no one is selling anything. This is all just kind of fake.
We're all canceled.
Everyone,
all of us. It's all done.
Chris,
That's
pack it in. We're canceled.
That's it. We didn't even get like, we didn't even get a sort of back and forth over branded vitamins or anything like that.
Nothing. I know. We didn't get our drama. Where's our drama?
We had our drama
okay.
earlier this year. Last time you said that, Stephanie, it prompted stuff.
Did it? Oh man.
How soon we forget. So anyway,
I'm good without drama, but yeah, I mean, so I guess the question is this true? What does it mean to have a lot of followers but then not be able to sell anything? Does that matter? Should you equate selling stuff to success online? It raises like all sorts of questions, right?
Well, and so to traditional media, right, who have been after the digital media landscape since the beginning, right, and still to this day, to really discrediting people for no reason. Like, I still don't understand the reason why they would want to. I mean, I understand it, but I don't really understand like why there's just this vehement hatred towards like the digital video landscape and to like online endemic creators. But there's this obviously like targeted campaign to really discredit people like us, people who have built their businesses and built their lives around, hey, let's do cool stuff online and maybe people will be excited about it. They see this as like, this is our victory. We're going to take this as our banner and say this era's over, without realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of variables at play here, right? It's everything from the quality of the follower, the quality of the creator, the actual level of influence that person has and the level of trust that they have with their audience, the quality of the product, the vertical that they work in, the platform that they're operating on, and the way they call to promote their stuff. There are so many. I say this all the time in our consulting sessions, right? When we're talking about things like end cards, the things that you click on at the end of a YouTube video. From all of our testing, we've designed end cards that can get 0% click-through rate. You don't want that, but we could do it if we can tell you how to get 0% click-through rate, or upwards of 45% click-through rates via things like polls and things that encourage people to really participate. And it's all based on the way you talk about things, the stuff that you're linking to, etc. And, not a lot of creators think about it that way. And so it's like, if you're not doing a good job of promoting the stuff that you want to promote, like, people aren't going to be excited about it. Another big difference, right, is people who work in the beauty vertical, vloggers, actually get a lot more buy-in for their merchandise and their products than people who work outside of those verticals, just by the nature of what they do.
And you can see them use stuff all the time. Yeah, one of the stories actually that we tell people from like the early days of game theory is when we first started, like one of the very first like brand deals that we were offered, which was with like Sony, or there was one with there was one with Ubisoft early on, like really, really early days back when the channel was much, much smaller. And they had already like tried working with some channels online, and they were like, no, we worked with these channels and it sucked. Like, no one clicked on anything, just like you're saying, like no one clicked on anything. It didn't go anywhere. Just like this girl, couldn't sell 36 t-shirts. We're done with the internet. We're done with influencers, quote unquote. We're not interested. And basically we talked to them and we were like, hey, give us a chance. Take one more chance on us. And I think we did some like integrations for free. We didn't charge anything.
We're just like, hey, let us show you what we can do.
Like we think, and we had no experience in it, but we were like, hey, we really think we can do better. And we think that like our audience would actually be really into what you're trying to promote, because we're really into it and they are into the kind of stuff that we're into. So we did a couple of those, videos. And like I said, we like didn't charge anything for them, and they did great. Like they did really awesome. And then those companies came back to us afterwards and they were like, we did integrations, we did brand deals with other YouTubers, and then we did them with you, and they performed so much better. And they were like, why did yours perform so much better? And we talked to them about all of those things that you just said, and it really makes a difference. And from then on, they were like, okay, I guess we're not going to give up on the internet anymore. And they went on to work with lots of other people, not just us, because they had like a better understanding of how to do it. And it makes a huge difference. And it's like, it's kind of everybody's responsibility to make sure that when you're doing business, like that it's successful and that it works for everybody. Otherwise, no one's going to want to do business on the internet anymore.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And so I think it's just one of those things where, you have to really be excited about a product. You have to understand your audience. The thing that we always say, honestly, is that the relationship that we have with you guys watching on GTeaLive, T-Series, the people who watch the channels, Game Theory and Film Theory, that relationship of creator to audience is a relationship of trust, right? And if you look at that like a bank, every video that we do that's popular and that you like, or every post that we make, every, live stream that we do, that is us depositing money into that bank with you. That like we're putting an extra coin into the bank of trust between the two of us. We're doing it because we like you, and in return, you like us. And so like that deposit, grows and builds across time. So that way you have like a positive balance and of trust with an audience, right? And every time that you ask the audience to do something, be it like follow you on a different channel, or go check out this product or buy merch or whatever, it's a withdrawal from that bank account. And as a creator, as an influencer, a lot of that is this balance of, hey, I don't want to burn you out by like asking you to do too many things for me, and at the same time it's also like, hey, or worse, burn you out by like promoting stuff that you don't believe in or that your audience isn't going to enjoy. And it's, you see that a lot with a lot of creators who don't treat it that way, who don't look at it like a trusting relationship, but are instead like, people are paying me money.
Just throw the ad in there, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just, it's easy cash for me. But no, it's like, hey, these people come to you because they're excited by the stuff that you do, because they trust you, because you're a friend to them in some capacity, or at the very least, you're entertaining to them. And so if all of a sudden you're treating them with disrespect,
or you ruin their childhoods. One of those things.
I mean, in our case, yes, for every childhood that I ruin, that is a deposit in the bank of trust, Stephanie. But it's one of those things that if you don't look at it that way and if you don't respect that relationship,
you're going to get burned, son.
well, yeah, then you get burned and the audience, feels bad and you don't, you sell 36 T-shirts or whatever. Like, I don't know.
So is influencer marketing over? No, of course not. This girl just needs to figure her stuff out.
Yeah, or just make a product that she more firmly believes in or any number of things. But to say that one person had a bad branded campaign and that's it. That's
it.
The whole thing.
Internet
It's
is
over.
over.
Pack
Shut
it up.
it down.
The internet's done. It was good. It was a fun run, friends. But we got to move on.
Yeah.
That's it. No, that's silly and that's narrow-sighted and it's stupid.
Phil DeFranco said basically the same thing where it's like, come on, are you really going to extrapolate from like one example? And like some people do, and you just have to like, I don't know, you just have to kind of ignore it and move on.
Well, and it's also like the thing that Stephanie said too, like especially on Instagram, there's a lot of fake influencers.
Oh my gosh, there's so much. I mean,
a lot of fake influencers.
If you look at just Instagram just is fake, and I think it's one of those things where like I go back and forth. Do you like debate this at all where you're like, should I like really try and curate my Instagram and have like, because if you talk about like optimizing your Instagram, like we do it so badly, and we even like tell people don't do like what we do like if you want to like try and grow your Instagram really fast, like do your color palettes and like do your themes and all of that kind of stuff. But
yeah, we consult on Instagram all the time,
yeah.
even though like,
we don't
pay attention to
no.
Like we study Instagram,
yeah,
but we ourselves do not put a lot
the
of
way
like,
that we use Instagram I think
yeah.
is a lot different than the way a lot of other like influencers use Instagram, because all their pictures are like so beautiful and so beautifully photoshopped, and like we don't intentionally try to pick like ugly pictures for Instagram, but like I don't know, mine has like a random assortment of like me and like the baby, and some of them are close up and some of them are like not so close up. And then like my stories, I think one of my stories this past week was just like me panning around a lake, which is not very interesting content, but I was like, I really like this lake and I want to share this lake with my friends. So it's one of those things where like, I don't know, do you debate whether you should be like, oh, should I do my themes? Should I like make sure everything looks the same and like is beautifully framed and shot and stuff?
I feel us being optimizers, I always have the feeling of like, oh, if you're not going to do it right, why do it at all? But at the same time, I feel real, and so I do feel guilty when I'm like, I look at my Instagram.
There's so much pressure on Instagram, you guys.
I just posted a picture today, which was my first picture in a month. So that tells you how I'm doing on Instagram. No, like, I don't know. There's so many different social media outlets out there, and I like Instagram as a photo sharing ability, but as far as like an influencer platform for I don't care. Like, I just want to post fun pictures of me and you and the baby and like fun life around the office.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like with friends and with you and with Oliver, and that's it. Like, is it the thing that I'm looking to grow my audience on so then I can like maximize my brand and then, promote additional product? Yeah, no. If someone wants to like promote a story with me, great. That's fantastic because it's fun and it gives me an excuse to do more stupid content. Like, honestly, that's what I see. I see like a lot of the opportunities to like do branded story posts or whatever as an opportunity to do like more shticky, cringe-worthy content. And that's...
We might do some at E3, and they're like really those are like really fun, but that's like not what our Instagram is for. So I don't know. It's one of those things where you can either do it for fun or it can turn into like this obligation, like this business thing that you have to get done, and it becomes so much less fun.
It's actually
like that.
And actually that's kind of the transition I'm going through right now, where like if you had asked me 2 years ago, even up to like the beginning of this year, right? Like I felt such crushing pressure to make sure that I wasn't good at it, but I felt guilt. I felt pressure to make sure that my Twitter and my Instagram were optimized, that they were, even if I wasn't able to deliver like regular posts, that every single one was like perfectly optimized for what that platform demanded. And it sucked. Like it was terrible. I felt such guilt. I felt such sadness about it. And like trying to squeeze what's a good post, what's a good picture, coupled, I need to make it look good, but
we
then
would be
also
out in places and it like ruins the time that you're
does.
having because you're like, oh my gosh, I should get an Instagram photo here, but then it takes like a zillion photos to get a decent Instagram photo, and you have to like stop whatever you're doing, consciously decide like, oh, okay, this is an Instagram photo, find your background, find your like angle, find like take a zillion photos, go back through them, find the one where like your nose doesn't look too big or whatever, and then you're like, okay, I'll post that one later, and then you have to come back and post it, and you have to like do all the filters. This isn't even with like photoshopping and stuff, which a lot of people do. Like it just takes, it's a lot of effort.
I mean, yeah.
When we already have 3 channels to run, and you're like, come on, do we really have to do something else?
Right, that's it. We have 3 channels, and it was just like, it was so needlessly stressful in my day-to-day life that at the beginning of this year, and especially over the last couple months, especially with Oliver, and as our time has gotten more and more limited, I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to just ease into it, like, just whenever I feel like doing something. Like, whenever there's a picture that I'm really excited about, or whenever there's, like, a tweet or funny thing that I can think of or whatever, like, that's when I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm trying to, like, be much more casual about it, and it's been great. It's been a lot more freeing. And yes, I recognize, and every once in a while I'm struck with that wave of like, this isn't optimized. You're not playing to the algorithms. This is your life. And now, are you foregoing the opportunities that this platform presents you as an online branded content creator? And it's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But that's a conscious decision that I'm making for my own happiness. And you know what? I'm worth it. And
you are worth it.
And
That's so nice.
It frees me up to, focus on the stuff that is going to really matter, which is, working on scripts and spending time with everyone here. So, and being positive towards things. And I think that's the other, last thing on this whole bit.
I was going to say,
I know
we've gotten so existential.
No, but the last thing is, I don't know what it's been last year and a half, but like there's been just such negativity and just overall on a lot of social media platforms that it was just exhausting. And I don't know if that's just my perception or I need to do a better job of, I haven't updated who I follow in forever, and I really need to follow better people and this and that. But it's one of those things where like I've just never been a good user of those platforms in a lot of cases. But to me, there's just been such negativity online and people just so eager to tear other people down and complain about stuff, some of which absolutely matters, but a lot of stuff, it's like, really, is this the stuff that we're getting up in arms about now? And it was just like, really?
We say from our drama recap channel.
Okay, fine.
No, but it is. It's one of those things where like I think we talk about a lot of the like the fun, cringy or like dramatic stuff that's going on the internet here. But we like try to infuse some level of like thinking or like level-headedness into it. It is sort of fun to indulge in drama every once in a while because it's like a lot of watching like the YouTube drama is like watching a really trashy reality TV show where you're like, secretly I love this. But when you look at it from like, I don't know, from like a little ways back, you're like, does this really matter? No.
Last note on this whole topic.
Yes.
Behind us, you'll notice the GT Epiphany light, which is on sale now via a link in the description. That is
great.
That is our merch.
People love it. So there you go.
People have been big fans of it.
We have sold more than 36 T-shirts and more than 36 lights.
But it's a great light.
And you can get one. There is still some left. So yeah, it's actually really awesome.
Yeah.
Next topic.
New spring merch.
Yep. Woo woo.
Please buy it.
Next topic.
That would be nice. As I said throughout the FNAF streams last week, it is the single best way to support everything that we do on the channel.
It actually is. Especially these streams.
Right, especially the streams. So your support is appreciated. Plus, you get a really cool color-changing light or shirt. All right, so that's influencer stuff.
Okay.
Very exciting. I don't know. The bubble hasn't burst. Hopefully not. We'll see.
If it has, you'll know because you'll see us applying for jobs.
You won't see us because
we'll have
disappeared. We're not going to be pulling like one of those channels that disappear or anything like that. But like you just won't be able to find us anymore. Speaking of the trending tab,
dun, da, da, da.
I wasn't going to hop into this one right away, but this is just an easy one to talk about, but it was a good segue, right? So one of the other big stories that have happened over the last week is, for some reason, people keep harping on about the trending tab.
Yeah, the trending tab. The trending tab, which drives like very little traffic for people, even if you're on the trending tab, and we say this as people who are like sort of, I'm gonna say it, disproportionately on the trending tab, or have been in the past.
We were in the past.
We're not anymore, but we used to.
They've moved on.
Yeah, they're done with us. But we used to show up there with film theory, especially pretty regularly, and we actually once. Again, we have no control over this, but we accidentally, I think, broke one of YouTube's rules, which is that the same content creator can't be on the trending tab twice at the same time. But there was at least one time where we were like number 2 for film theory and number 3 for game theory or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous. So we, as people who have been on the trending tab, I would say many times, and are very happy about that, but again, have no control over it whatsoever. I can tell you that even if you're on the trending tab, you don't actually get very much traffic from the trending tab.
Yep.
Just from like, you're getting traffic from other places if you have a popular video. Relatively speaking, you're not getting that much of it from the trending tab. It gives you a little boost. It just gives you a little boost. That's it.
So the long and short of it basically is obviously the trending tab has been a hot button topic on YouTube ever since it was first introduced, right? By the nature of it being called the trending tab. And I think that might be one of the reasons why it's seen such a backlash when it comes to content creators and audiences being upset about what shows up there, right? Because trending seems to imply certain things about the content, i.e., this is content that's doing really well on the platform.
This is the thing that everybody's watching. So if you need to catch up on stuff that's happening on YouTube, it seems like you should go to the trending tab. But a lot of times, the biggest videos on YouTube are never on the trending tab because of all sorts of reasons.
Because of ... reasons, question mark, exclamation points. No, and it is. It's frustrating, right? To have this thing that's supposed to stand for a curation of all the best things that are happening on YouTube, that are literally trending, because that does have a definition of growing at a rapid rate on the platform. Right. So that it's not just a meaningless word. It has a meaning.
And it's not just a leaderboard. Like, the trending tab, if it were like a leaderboard, it would literally just take like the fastest growing videos at any given moment, or like at the beginning of any given day, and like slap them up there in order, like in the order that they are growing or whatever. But it doesn't work like that. And the thing that this article points out, which again I think is one of those, like, just like the last thing we talked about, it's like you take one example and then you like blow it out so that and say that it represents everyone when it probably doesn't.
Wait, doesn't one case study automatically prove your point?
An N of 1 is scientifically very sound.
That's what I learned from Shane Dawson and Chuck E. Cheese, though.
What?
He had an N of 1, and then all Chuck E. Cheese like changed their policies.
He had a lot of Twitter pictures. Okay, that there were a lot of wonky looking pizzas.
I know there were a lot of wonky looking pizzas. Anyway, what was this N of 1, Stephanie?
Yeah. So basically, this article talks about the fact that for Logan Paul, he has to get some. Thank you. I've been trying to get all the ticks out of my hair.
It's actually a fuzzball, but okay, that's gross. Very concerned about your head lice.
No, I'm good. So I pride myself on my clean scalp. And in case you couldn't see what just happened, Matthew just picked a fuzzball out of my hair. So basically, it's just that Logan Paul's videos were analyzed, and apparently he needs some ridiculously high number of views, like 50 million, in order to make it onto the trending tab, where other people like late night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel, others like that, need only like a few 100,000 to seemingly make it onto the trending tab.
Well, it's not quite that. So what really started this whole story off, right, or what started it kind of back into the public consciousness? Obviously, YouTube executives have been touring around, having meetings with James Charles, with Shane Dawson, Casey Neistat. Like, they've been doing these kind of like press tours with YouTubers to kind of talk about like the hot button topics, right? So that's already kind of started this, groundswell of like, what about the trending tab? That's the important thing that we need to talk about on this platform. But what's really kind of kicked it off too and taken it to a whole new level was there was this channel called Coffee Break. where I believe the channel creator or the host of the channel's name is Steven. He had done a cross-sectional analysis of the trending tab for an extended period of time, both in the US and internationally, to show, relatively speaking, the relative view thresholds that a lot of channels had to cross in order to make it onto the trending tab relative to branded channels, right? And so for a typical branded channel or late night talk show, the number was in the couple of hundreds of thousands.
It wasn't like for YouTube, but still a lot of views. But for YouTube, compared to someone like a Shane Dawson or James Charles or something like that, not very high viewership.
Right, and then for content creators, it was in the millions to tens of millions in a lot of cases, right? So that was what this YouTuber, this content creator, Coffee Break, the channel, had discovered, and then PewDiePie covered it, and then, that coupled with all the other conversations that were happening, Casper Lee did, an interview with Robert Kinsel, who's one of the high-ups at YouTube. He also kind of asked the question, this and that. So the long and short of it is, this is a hot-button topic. YouTube this year has been very public about wanting it to be a 50-50 split between creators and branded channels, which they've been doing. I checked it up this weekend, and it was like 50% of branded channels on top and 50% of content creators on the bottom. But
hey, it's split
50-50. Even though our data once again shows that people don't tend to scroll on YouTube all that much. They tend to
We used to talk about this a lot more, actually, but yeah.
We did a lot of analyses on playlist structure and channel layouts.
Yeah, channel layouts, like where you put your shelves on your channels. And yeah, that's why your top 2 shelves are the most important on your channel page, because people don't scroll. They don't like to move their finger on the mouse.
Yeah, on the mouse or
like flip
through on their mobile phones. So anyway, that is the big drama around this. Steph, what are your thoughts?
On the trending tab, or on like the discrepancy between content creators and brands?
In general.
I have like mixed feelings on this, because on the one hand, I guess I understand YouTube's strategy in wanting, maybe people who come to YouTube for the first time, and we've talked to them about this, right? They're like, the trending tab is for people who come to YouTube for the first time and have no idea what to watch. When you talk to like representatives from YouTube, that's what they say the trending tab is for. It's not for people frankly, people who are watching this live stream or probably listening to this podcast. It's not for people like you and me who already know what's on YouTube, or like at least a few channels that we have that are like favorites. They're like, the trending tab is for people who have never been to YouTube. And so when they go to the trending page, YouTube's idea is like, hey, we want stuff to show up here for people that they're going to be familiar with, even if they've never watched any YouTube before. So they put late night talk show hosts there. They put Ellen. They put like big name celebrities, so that people who are used to watching just like TV or Netflix are like, oh, I get this YouTube thing because there are people here I know. And then the idea is they click on those people, and then maybe they start to watch other people who they've never heard of. So like they're trying to use these talk show hosts and these celebrities as like the gateway drug to the rest of YouTube.
Wow.
And
you hooked.
Right?
Get your hit of YouTube.
Get your YouTube.
Get it straight in the vein. Get it straight in the vein.
So that's the strategy. And if you look at it from that perspective, I'm like, okay, at least there's thought there. Like I don't think the intention is to say we hate our own content creators, we don't believe in them, their stuff isn't good enough. It's basically like, no, the dum-dums who have never seen YouTube in 2019. No, I'm going to say it because frankly, none of them are watching this channel. Like, honestly, like if you're watching this, you're like a YouTube initiate, okay? Like you're in the club.
You're in deep, friends.
So
you've liked, commented, and subscribed in the past.
It's 2019. If you've never been to YouTube and you're like, I've never been to the YouTubes, let me see what's on by looking at this trending page, and you need that, like, you really need that.
So the interesting thing about it, right, and I see, similarly, I see kind of the challenge here, which is on one hand, the trending tab has to appeal to a very different demographic than the core YouTube user, right? And part of the reason why you're not seeing a lot of the vloggers show up on there, PewDiePie show up on there, some of the more edgier YouTube creators on there is because, just quite frankly, those audiences and those creators just don't match up, right? Like, these are the people who are looking for like sports clips, late night show clips, and music videos, just like very top line basic stuff, basic content.
Yeah, basic.
I mean, yeah. I mean, kind of, and so on one hand, YouTube is trying to like match the type of user who is on the trending tab to the type of the type of audience who's on the trending tab to the type of content that person is looking to watch, right? So I get that.
Do I think it's disappointing that more endemic or like native creators don't show up higher up on the trending tab? Yeah, absolutely. It sucks. And I think like if you look at the trending tab that way, it's a super poor representation of what's actually on the platform. But again, gateway drug.
Well,
the trending tab is the gateway.
Well, but that's the thing I was going to say though, is it is disappointing, right? That it's more from a symbolic standpoint than it is and I think this is where YouTube drops the ball, right? They see the trending tab as a purely utilitarian thing. They're like, here's this audience that needs to understand what type of content is on YouTube, and this is the sort of stuff they're interested in. Let's give it to them on the trending tab and make it easy for them to find the very superficial stuff that they're looking for. Fine. And they also have this idea of like, well, not many views come in from the trending tab, so content creators shouldn't be upset about this. So why are people giving us such a hard time? That is, I think, their line there.
Yeah.
To content creators, though, we see it more as a symbolic gesture of sorts. Like, yes,
it's like a vote of confidence from YouTube.
Like, it's like, hey, YouTube, we are people who have built this platform and have built large audiences on this platform. Why aren't we on there? We deserve to be there because we are indicative of the type of content that you can also find on here. We are the people that you should be promoting to these new audiences because, we're not the big brands. We're not. And who knows? Someone might find us and like us. And I think that, like, chances are they probably won't. Yeah. Like, the amount of subscribers that we've gotten from the times that we've been on the trending tab is minimal at best.
Yeah, it's not like a huge number or something.
It's very...
If anything, they should have like a new to YouTube tab and then like a hot on YouTube tab.
That would be interesting.
The hot on YouTube tab is the stuff that's actually getting millions of views, but that if you've never seen YouTube, you wouldn't have heard of those people. And like the new to YouTube tab is like the Jimmy Kimmels of the world, where it's like, hey, you've never been here. It's 2019, dum-dum. But like start here and then maybe you'll make it over to the stuff that's hot on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's interesting because for the hot on YouTube, you'd have to, again, the trick here is there are just certain channels that just dominate every time they upload, right? Like PewDiePie uploads every day, and every single one of his videos is getting 3 to 4 million views.
But I think it's one of those things where it has to be like, that video has to be outperforming for that creator, not just outperforming. So like, for instance, Shane Dawson, every time he uploads stuff, it gets like a ton of views too. But sometimes like maybe the last 3 episodes of his Jake Paul series or something, because every one of those got more and more views, maybe the last 3 of those do show up on like the hot on YouTube tab because they're, even for Shane, they're doing like super views, right?
Yes, 100%. I think it is this like balancing act of there has to be a metric around like relative to your normal performance, this video is blowing up. And then there's always going to be some level of curation on these sorts of things, but I think where YouTube, again, drops the ball is understanding that this is a symbolic gesture that shows a vote of confidence to its creators when, we're trying to kind of like fight for our place on the platform, and what we see is YouTube giving promotion to like the big name celebrities and the big name channel, like the big name traditional channels. And so it's less utilitarian and more symbolic. It's indicative of them believing in us relative to, hey, putting us on the same tier or putting channels who are endemic to YouTube on the same level as people who are coming from off platform. I think that's the important stuff that they don't really connect in their head. The other thing that was interesting that came out of these conversations, though, and the thing that is worth calling out is YouTube is also being a little bit more public about some of the new standards and practices that they'll be implementing around the trending tab, right?
Right.
So Robert Kinsel, again, in this interview with Casper Lee, we take all this very seriously. He adds in the interview, YouTubers carry our brand in their description. They're called YouTubers, right? We're very incentivized to take this seriously, and I think this is very unique because I think when you see movie stars or TV stars, they're not really with their identity tied to the platforms that distribute their work. And so what this is in reference to, right, is they're planning strategies for dealing with creators who are accused of immoral behavior in their personal lives, right? So now all of a sudden, if a YouTuber gets, called out in public for doing something immoral or questionable, like some of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks with all the beauty guru drama, with the Pro Jared drama,
with Logan, or that
Logan
guy
Paul
who
drama.
just got sent to jail over that mean prank.
Yeah, or the
stuff like
pranksters.
that. Yeah.
There was news recently that this one channel who had, back in the prankster days, had given an Oreo filled with toothpaste to a homeless man.
Yeah, he
just
took
got
the cream
convicted.
out of an Oreo and put toothpaste in it, and then gave it to a homeless man. How horrible is that?
He's getting 15 months in prison, I believe, is the sentence, as well as a $22,000 fine.
And 5-year ban from YouTube. Although I don't know how you enforce that, because can't you just make another account under an alias? I don't understand.
The legal system hasn't figured out those things exist. What? You cannot go on this website anymore, young man. Oh, shucks. Okay.
Back to Facebook for you.
Oh, darn it. No, I mean, the guy has a million subscriber plus channel, so.
I mean, I know that's shut down, but anyway.
But it's so it's interesting, right? YouTube is enforcing some level of immorality clause, where they're looking to actually police this sort of stuff, so that way drama doesn't blow up, or those channels who create drama or do immoral things aren't getting as much attention. Because right now, I mean, and I think this is something that's been leveled against the platform since the Logan Paul days, right? Of like, hey, here's this guy who's doing these awful things. Why is he still getting all the promotion that he is?
Yeah, he's all over these suggested tabs and recommended feeds and stuff. So yeah.
So on that front, actually, I'm on YouTube's side, right?
I do think they should split it out in some way, or find some other distinction, so that, because I think everybody can be happy in this world. I don't think it's like the thing is, it's a website. It's not like space is limited. Just create somewhere else to send new people that's front and center, that's all arrows point here. If you don't know what to do on YouTube, just go there. And then once that's out of the way, you just have something else.
I was talking about the immoralities.
Oh, the immoralities? Yeah, I'm with YouTube on that too.
Because it is interesting, right? His observation about YouTubers carrying the brand of YouTube in their qualifier, that's really interesting, right? Like, you have Instagram influencers and you have YouTubers. It's really interesting that nowhere you don't have movie stars, and they're I guess they're representing the movie industry.
No, they're not.
But
But
they're not.
But on a specific company.
They're
it
not
would be
Paramounters or
you'd be
Warner Brothers and sisters.
brothers. Yeah. Yeah, it's totally different. And it's totally unique. And so I kind of, on the one hand, I feel for YouTube being in that kind of position where they have to balance so many people being angry at them all the time. But,
yeah. So it's really interesting. A lot of odd changes happening, some for the better, some for the worse. Who knows? We'll see what comes of it all. The other thing that I wanted to call out here today, and this is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts that we've covered on Game Theory multiple times, is that Congress, the old legislative branch of the government, for those of you who remember the 3 branches of government here in the U.S., what are the other 2?
Judiciary and the president.
Which is called what branch,
The
Stephanie?
executive branch.
Well done.
Matthew.
Well done.
God.
He wears many hats. That's the thing that they always teach you in school.
You think I didn't take U.S. history or government or civics or one of the 8 classes where you cover that?
Hey, Chris, are you on a microphone?
I am.
So, Chris, let's see how well you remember your American history and your civics.
This is the worst, because this is stuff you're definitely supposed to know, but I if you're put on the spot, sometimes you just don't come up with it.
If the president and the vice president both pass away,
oh, I do know this one.
Who is then set to step into the role of president?
I believe that's the Senate pro tem. Right?
Ooh. Is it? Jason. Jason just walked into the room. Let's put him on.
It's either that or the speaker, but
Here we go.
You know what?
Jason.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I thought it was the pro temp too, but I'm like, maybe it's the Speaker of the House.
I thought it was the Speaker of the House, only due to the fact that
I love that I asked this and no one knows. I feel very confident in my answer. So, Jason, what's your answer?
is it the Surgeon General?
It's not the Surgeon General.
General, Jason.
No one really knows what the Surgeon General does.
No one knows the Surgeon General.
They wite the little fortune cookie blurbs that appear on top of like cigarette boxes, right? And the
Anybody
Surgeon
has
General.
studied the
They always
history.
remind me of like a little fortune cookie blurbs that
All
are.
right, the chat has weighed in here with mostly Speaker of the House.
I thought it was Speaker of the
Speaker of
House.
the
We have a
Okay,
couple
great.
of Secretary of State, but yeah, it's
I mean,
Speaker.
unless they've changed things since I
no,
study civics.
it's
but-
Speaker.
No, it's Speaker of the House.
And the
Yeah.
reason for that,
Are you on a microphone or are you just talking?
No,
randomly?
I have
well,
my
well,
mic
talk into an
close.
effing microphone.
I
You
have
know
the-
how
I
production
have it
works.
right here. I
You're
got
the
it
head
right
of
here.
production and you're not talking into a
Chris,
microphone.
can you hear me?
You weirdo.
loud and clear, as can all of our listeners.
Oh, great.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Um,
Please continue, Jason.
all right. I thought it was due to the fact that doesn't the vice president have a role? Like, he's not part of the Senate, but doesn't he have overseeing powers in the Senate?
I think Jason's just
No,
pulling
He's
it
the
out of his butt right
tiebreaker,
now.
right?
The vice president is the tie-breaking vote.
Yeah,
So that's why I always thought it goes to the Speaker of the House afterwards, because it goes, like, obviously executive branch, then Senate, then House. So that's why I thought they chose that part.
There you go, ladies
There
and
we
gentlemen.
go. There it
wow.
is.
Very exciting discussion happening today. about
Okay.
it. We should do more pop
All right,
quizzes.
we know
'cause that was-
Obviously
some
the
civics.
firstborn son of the president, if anybody followed
How
their
do you
history
calculate
courses.
the derivative of an no? Every once in a while they'll do
You
math.
take the exponent, pop it to the front, and
I know.
there we go.
And then -1.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't know what got me on that. Oh, that's right. I was asking. So Congress is considering banning loot boxes.
Oh, okay.
So this has been something that's been kicking around in other countries over the last 6 to 8 to 12 months. But now it's hit the U.S., and so that's why we're talking about it here on T-Series, right? So Congress is considering anti-loot box legislation, and there's basically the way they're talking about this, right, is children will not be seen as cash cows for the gaming industry, right, or for people who are looking to make a quick buck. Quick butt. They're not looking for quick butts.
They're
either,
really
but,
looking to build that booty. They're trying to sculpt it as quickly as possible.
I mean,
Aren't we all?
it's a weird thing for the Senate to legislate, but it's a thing. No, so anyway, there's obviously in the wake of a lot of recent games implementing loot box systems into their video games, finding them to be very easy ways to monetize content and get people hooked by what a lot of people equate to gambling. There's been a lot of pushback around like, hey, video games are meant for kids. What are you doing? You're getting kids to gamble via these loot box systems.
And that's the question, right?
Stop it.
Is it technically gambling? And we've talked about this in game theory episodes and stuff. Because if you do define it as gambling, then there's a very easy path to legislation for banning it from children's games or keeping kids from like accessing that kind of stuff more and more. But it really just depends on how you look at it. And I also think that my one concern with it, because I'm not like I don't do loot boxes. I don't play games that involve a lot of like loot box systems. I've never spent money in a game like that. I am not a microtransactor. But also I think that Congress is probably pretty undereducated to or like needs to come up the curve quite a bit.
Shots fired, Congress.
No, I
sound-
I saw Zuckerberg in the Senate. I know what kind of questions these people are lobbing out about stuff that happens on the internet.
Sound the air horns, ladies
And that was
gentlemen. Stephanie is
Facebook.
calling out.
60-year-olds use Facebook. They don't use these games.
You don't think that the senator, the good senator from Maryland, is using it is headshotting
Fortniting?
stormtroopers in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Mr. EA, how does this
EA.
game make money? We run loot boxes.
People purchase our game.
People buy it.
No, I mean, I agree, right? And I think it's interesting, right? I always say it's interesting, and people online are giving me a hard time about it, so I need to come up with a new catchphrase, apparently, because apparently I said it's interesting a bunch during the FNAF Let's Play. But what I was going to say is...
You're just interested in a lot of things, okay?
I am
He's a man of many interests.
I am intellectually curious, ladies and gentlemen. Sue me. But it's one of those things where this legislation is specifically targeted at children, right? Children should not be targeted for loot boxes. And I get the rationale behind that, but at the same time, again, it's one of those things that's going to be impossible to police. These games, in a lot of cases, have ratings that push them beyond the reach of children. And so, unless you're limiting them to mature games only, technically speaking, a lot of the games that are going to be in the hands of these children are going to have loot box systems. So, it's a step in, I think, the right direction for a lot of this stuff, because the games industry has gotten really aggressive with a lot of this stuff. They have really started to figure out how to optimize mobile games, loot box games, all this stuff.
And we've talked about, if you haven't seen the game theories we've done on this, it's really worthwhile, because we talk about like how they can target people now and how they can target individuals, because they know everything you've ever done in the game. They know your internet history. They know everything about you, and they can make stuff like advertisements, and they can make like game mechanics so appealing, and just more and more and more appealing until you finally buy something. It's crazy.
They can adjust the price that it is based on your specific user habits.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so
Everything.
finely tuned to get you to get money out of your pockets. It's scary, right? And it's one of those things that they have learned how to hack the human brain and exploit all of its weaknesses and fuel you to the point of, like, you know, give you a dopamine rush. Wow, isn't it exciting? Oh, wait, we're going to cut you off unless you pay money. And they cut you off right. They know down to, like, the turn that it's going to take to get you to insert your credit card or make that purchase, right? So there's definitely some level of maintenance or some level of oversight that needs to happen, so that way those sorts of practices don't get out of control, right? And I think this is a good step in that direction. But like you said, Steph, it's one of those things where it's a very complicated issue, and it deals with a lot of really complicated factors that, you know, the 60-year-old, the good senator, the good speaker of the House, whoever he or she may be, probably not super familiar with a lot of these things, right?
And the other thing that we talk about in the game theory episodes, which again, like, comes all back around when you talk about this kind of stuff, is like, if you say that loot boxes are gambling and you shouldn't sell them to kids, you also have to say the same thing about baseball cards, magic cards, all these other industries that have been around for decades. And you've had the same, like, a lot of those same debates have happened around baseball cards and other stuff. But they've never really gone through. But it's the exact same principle. A baseball card pack is just a loot box in real life. There's no difference, really, other than that, like, maybe they have less information on you to sell them to you. But I mean, it's just real tricky where you draw that line, right?
And you're right. I think that's the takeaway here, is it's tricky where you draw the line, because in gaming, and especially we saw it with Star Wars Battlefront, where it was, in-game power and in-game ability to win in a lot of cases was hidden behind loot boxes. And I think
Pokemon cards. People are also calling out Pokemon cards.
Yeah, sure. And so that's the thing, right? Baseball cards, Pokemon cards, Magic cards are going to be randomized, and you're not necessarily guaranteed to get power. You're not playing with power, and they're not, like, they can optimize where in the supermarket they are or where in the store they are or things like that, but they're not so finely tuned and so finely targeted that they're able to like sell to you everywhere you go online via this thing in your pocket and cut you off right when you're at the perfect point of buying and then charge you the perfect price that you're willing to spend. Like, there are layers of nuance and targeting that games in a lot of cases, and especially mobile games, are able to do that, you know, not even the most like egregious baseball card or Pokemon card or whatever are going to be able to execute on. Is Jason still over there, Chris? Because I know Jason is a big Magic card player.
Jason has a prolific Magic card collection.
Sure is.
It's
do
amazing.
you have thoughts? I'm curious, as because I'm not, again, like, I'm not much of a card game player. I collected a couple of holographic Pokemon cards because they were pretty and shiny, but I never played the game really. You know, Magic cards, I have a passing interest in them, but I've never played the game. I've never actually collected them or anything like that. So I'm not much of a collector type.
Yeah. What do
so
you
I'm curious to get the opinion of someone who does buy packs and unwrap them and things like that. Do you see loot boxes and loot crates and stuff in video games as similar or not? What's your opinion on the whole thing?
100%. I think it's the same exact business
Really?
model. I think
Interesting.
loot boxes stem from the same business practice as the collectible cards, collectible card games, and like any collectible miniatures, things like that. I see your point of they don't have as much access to a individual's buying practices when it comes to the real life stuff. However, all of these games, or a lot of these games, also have digital versions now as well, which means they're probably pulling a ton of market research on people's buying habits.
Interesting.
That's
which
true.
then they can put out to a larger marketplace anyway. So they might not be targeting the individual, but they have a ton of knowledge on overall buying practices. The other thing that is sort of separates it a little bit is that in most card games, people, like competitive players, will buy individual cards. They won't buy the packs.
Oh my gosh, that's what the chat is saying. They're saying go buy individual cards on eBay. Don't buy the
Correct.
packs.
And some
great.
of these
That's
gaming
great advice.
systems have that option. So even though they're loot boxes, you can buy the specific things with in-game currency.
That's interesting.
So you're not
does
forced to go
that
through that.
allow, like, if a game company allows you to buy just the skin rather than only getting it from a loot box, does then that become okay?
That's great.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point. And I had forgotten to factor in the idea that a lot of these games, and even baseball cards and stuff too, do have digital components at this point, or an app component or things like that. No, so you're totally right. The other thing that I did want to throw in there is, I mean, even in our research even in doing the research for those episodes of Game Theory, it became clear that some of these games that do have loot box systems are able to manipulate the odds. And I think that's one of the other factors here, right? Is it's gambling, but it's almost even worse because they're able to manipulate the odds of you getting a good thing versus a bad thing based on the number of plays that, the number of boxes that you've opened and this and that, to make sure that you get a good thing. So that way you're incentivized. Oh, I need to keep going. I got a bunch of crap. Oh, wait, no, I got something good. I'm going to get the good knife, or I'm going to get the good spray now, or whatever it is. And there's just such little transparency into how these systems are operating. It's not, in a lot of cases, not public information about what the odds are and this and that. Or
That's true.
those
And even in
publicly facing
Vegas,
odds can be.
they have to tell, or when you play the lottery or something, they have to tell you what your actual odds are and like how astronomically low they are, right? So,
And it's interesting too. And the last thing I'll say here is, it's interesting. Oh, Matt, good. Come up with a phrase.
it's fascinating.
It's what's
It's
worth
super
pondering.
neato.
Google Play, actually, and as I was just reading up in preparation to talk about this on the live stream here, Google Play has actually started to implement a system where if there is a loot box system involved, they're going to be they're requiring games to start disclosing what the odds of you getting certain items, or not even certain items, but like good things versus bad things, and like they're expecting more transparency from people who have these systems in place in the games in order to put those games on the Google Play Marketplace. So you're seeing some of the platforms starting to police themselves even before this legislation goes through, or even before it's considered.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think it's one of those things where, you know, the government legislative bodies, whether it's in Belgium or here in the US, there's a big learning curve, and anytime they're legislating stuff, again, it's like you have the sledgehammer for the small nail, and that becomes a dangerous prospect. We saw it with the Article 13 stuff, right? And so in a lot of cases, the most impactful policing or the most impactful changes to these systems are going to come from the platforms and the marketplaces themselves.
Yeah, because they're like, we don't want to get regulated out of business, so we're gonna do as much as we need to like skate by.
Yep.
I'll finish up with just a couple of chat notes here.
Please.
Deb Perez says, as a former MTG player, I actually see the card games as a play to win, where loot boxes, depending on the game, are more of a play to look good rather than a utilitarian item that breaks the game. So they're actually saying that like Magic the Gathering cards are kind of worse than loot boxes. Swift Sword Rush says loot boxes and Magic cards are completely different, where we've also had a lot of people who have been like, oh yeah, they're totally the same thing. They're totally the same thing. And a lot of people who have also specifically said that they feel more that loot boxes are rigged more than Magic cards or something else like that, because once those cards are packaged, you can't mess with them after that, right?
Yeah,
So lots of different thoughts and opinions here, and I think it's really interesting that everybody sort of comes from a different angle.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. In all honesty, like we're at this day and age, and again, with the advent of the internet, with the advent of digital video, there's so many new questions and concerns and legal issues that come up that it's a really tricky time. It's a very nuanced time, right? Like we as humans are much more comfortable with like, this is black, this is white, and never the two shall meet. It's very easy to separate, you know, like we're all much more comfortable when the villain is very clear and here's the good guy, or like the distinctions are, you know, set in stone and it's good and bad, you know, light and dark, whatever. And the internet and where we are today, everything is just gray, you know, and there's shades of gray, certainly, and there's, you know, slightly darker shades of gray. There's 50 shades of gray, in fact.
What?
But it's one of those things, right, where there's just so much more nuance and instigating factors and this and that it's really hard to navigate through the ethical decisions and the ethical dilemmas that the internet really poses these days. And so it's exhausting. It is tough. And all of us who are kind of going through it, all of us who are living through it, all of us who are, you know, talking to people in government or on these platforms to try and navigate it. It's a tough challenge. It's a very interesting time. It's a very exciting time, but it's also a very exhausting time, exactly for those reasons.
Yep.
So stay strong, stay determined, and stay patient, because a lot of this stuff too it's hard to navigate, and it's hard to, like,
It can take people a while to figure it out.
It takes a long time. So those were from the chat.
We have time for like one more.
Last drop of tea here, Steph.
Oh.
Oreo is releasing a limited time Oreo.
What?
Called the Most Stuff.
Oh.
Stuffed with even more than a double stuffed
How
Oreo.
do you get more than
I don't know is it, Chris, do you know if
Is
it's
it like
more
a
than a
quad
mega
stuff?
Because the mega stuff is a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
I've actually seen these Oreos recently.
Have you?
In the store?
You've seen the fabled Most Stuff Oreo.
It does look far more stuffed than the mega stuff.
Here,
Wow,
I'm gonna pull up
far
a picture
more,
of
because
the Most Stuff Oreo.
here we go.
Hold
We're
on.
gonna calculate how much stuff is in the Most Stuff Oreo.
This looks like a lot of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's an
Whoa.
egregious amount of stuff.
There's too much stuff.
That's too much stuff.
Is that the question here? Are we like
It's
are we
so
gonna
much
get into
stuff.
this of like how much stuff is too much stuff?
That is like 3 times to 4
That's-
times a double
that's
stuff.
way too
Chris
much
is gonna
stuff.
try to pull up a picture for everyone so we can
That's
judge.
way too much stuff. Okay,
I
so
sure am.
I'm gonna go with the unpopular opinion here. I like regular stuff Oreos.
Boo.
I would prefer a regular stuff Oreo to a double stuff. I don't need that much stuff. I'm an Oreo minimalist. Call me Marie Kondo. The little bit of stuff gives me joy, and I let the rest go.
Chris, do you have a picture of the stuff for everyone to see? There it is.
There it is.
There it is,
There's
ladies
the
and
stuff.
gentlemen. There
It's
is the picture of the stuff.
too much
Look at that. It's like an ice cream sandwich, but in Oreo cookie form and not
man.
ice cream. So here's my take on it, because I find the double stuff Oreo to be the perfect amount of stuff.
I know you're a double stuff man.
I think it's perfect.
I think that's actually just slightly too much cream.
So my take here is, because I've tried the mega stuff, as a fan of the stuff, which it's weird that it's just called this stuff. It's one of those times where you'd say it so many times and you're like, that's weird. As a fan of the stuff, I tried a mega stuff and I actually thought it was too much stuff. I thought, like, when you have too much of the stuff, you start to really get the sense that it's
And
very
it's kind of
synthetic-y
gross.
tasting.
Yeah, it's a little gross.
Like, the double stuff, it's just enough to be creamy and good, but not so much that you're like, wow, I don't even really know what this weird white abomination is that I'm eating.
right?
Who
Like,
knows?
what is this stuff?
Like, you hear all the time about the pink stuff that, like, McDonald's makes its hamburgers out of. No one's questioning what the random white stuff
white
is in an
stuff is.
Oreo.
Hey,
I wonder what
Because it's vegan, okay? It's vegan, so it must be okay.
it does taste very synthetic in large quantities. Although you can bet that I'm going to go out and try a real most stuff
I know,
Oreo
we gotta
now,
get some.
out of
Koala
curiosity.
Two Tail is the one, maybe the only person who's with me who's like, thank you. Regular stuff, yes. People are like, okay. I think in general the consensus that we're getting is like, okay, this is a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. You can fit like 3 Oreos in the pack
Actually,
with that amount of stuff.
You know, I'm seeing a lot of other Oreo minimalists out there, although Amelia Rowe does say, no, Stephanie, why would you betray us like
Thank
this?
you, Amelia. You're right. She was on our team, and then she just abandoned us.
Yeah, whatever.
Greatest
Anyway,
anime betrayals right here sitting on the couch next to me.
So yeah, I'm a regular stuff. Although I will say, if I'm gonna pick a favorite Oreo, I do like the regular ones, but the peanut butter Oreos are some of my favorite Oreos ever. Like if I were gonna pick like a cookie, like it's probably in my like top 5 cookies. The peanut butter Oreos. Oh, they are so good. Matthew does not understand at all. He does not like them.
You know what's really good? The peep flavored Oreos. Just don't eat too many of them, because you're gonna have a bad night. As longtime viewers of this live stream will remember.
I didn't see Matthew. He was in the bathroom for so long. It was like, where did he go? Did he leave? No, he's still on the John.
It was a long, unpleasant, and oddly colored night.
I'm
Let's
also
just say
seeing
that.
a lot of thin Oreo fans, like the Oreo thins. Shockingly good, by the way.
I had not
was
had
so skeptical.
I agree, actually. I had not had Oreo thins, which are the low-calorie Oreo, which is like, that defeats the purpose. Like, why are you eating an Oreo at that point? But no, I get it. But I had a Oreo thin for the first time not too long ago at an event, because they're the sort of thing that they carry at events. Like, here's a little packet of thin Oreos, your 100-calorie pack or whatever. Surprisingly good.
So good.
I thought they were going to be so dry and
also the
gross.
golden thin Oreos.
Solid.
Thin Oreos are so good.
Solid.
Oh my gosh.
Great options.
So good.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The most stuff Oreos. Go out, try them. Let us know what you think next week. I'm gonna try to find a bag so we can taste test them.
Yes. Oh, that'll be really fun. Okay, good.
That'll be a lot of fun. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the last drop of tea.
Are you gonna come back on Thursday?
Will I be back on Thursday?
Yeah, will you be streaming on Thursday and Friday? I also have another consulting trip this week. But I will be
leave
gone
tomorrow.
for the whole week. Matthew will be back on Thursday. So maybe you keep everybody updated on the stream.
Yes,
schedule.
I would. I'm gonna try.
And then I'm done. No more consulting.
You say that,
done.
but then we're gone for E3, and then it's VidCon after
Oh,
that. I know
man.
there's a lot of travel
Hang in there
this
with
month.
us,
I'm so
guys.
sorry.
We're gonna stream. Maybe we'll do some GT Not Lives or something.
But definitely, yeah, I'm gonna try. Like, assuming that everything goes fine on my flight and stuff, Thursday I'll be back to do something. We'll find out what it is. We'll see if new things come up. I know FNAF VR actually is supposed to have an update this week. because some of the endings are broken or not at all. We still have a coin that we have to find. So maybe that'll be a good like one-off thing to finish, or we'll just play something else. Who knows? But I'll try to be here on Friday for the normal time, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific, maybe 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Just keep an eye out. Ring the bell if you haven't. That way you're notified of all the new uploads that are happening to make sure that you're here to join us, to participate, to play along. And that's it for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Remember, the influencer bubble hasn't necessarily burst. Game Theory merch is available right now for your purchase.
Woo!
And we will see you all on Thursday, or I'll see you on Thursday. And in the meantime, remember, that's just some. Didn't we have a closing?
Just clink the glasses.
That's
just
just
clink the glasses.
Some tea series. Chink the glass.